All right, everyone, it's time to talk about the anti-vaxxer thing, sort of the movement against vaccines in general. One point of overlap that I have is I don't believe that the flu vaccine specifically is particularly important. Like, if I had a kid, I'd get them vaccinated. Absolutely, 100%. Like, I was vaccinated for everything back when I was a little kid. I didn't, like, magically get autism or go blind or become infertile or any of the other things. Like, some people believe that if you get vaccinated, it does all these horrible things, but I notice that they're the same sort of people that talk about how they shoot colloidal silver in vinegar every day. And it's a little bit hippy-dippy. Or the people that say, like, fluoride, this and that, calcified my pineal gland, now I can't contact the aliens anymore. So strange things like that. I'm thinking to myself this. Vaccines save lives. It's pretty well regarded. It's pretty ironclad that it is a helpful thing for this world. I do happen to believe, like some people, this article actually I think alludes to this if I remember correctly, saying, well, these people, they want to focus more on sanitation stuff that's ineffective. Well, maybe so. I do believe sanitation and the eradication of host reservoirs is a good thing. I think we should go back to the DDT era. Yeah, absolutely. I think we should wipe as many disease vectors out as possible. We should do comprehensive studies to see the environmental impact, and I mean studies not conducted by a bunch of hippies, like the eggshells got thinner because of DDT lie that's been largely discredited at this point. The African nations are begging for us to start producing it and give it to them to fight malaria, so give them the DDT, dude. I don't really care. It's not even in this country. Sell them the fucking DDT. All their government people want it. If it saves a bunch of people from dying of malaria, so be it. Oh my god, some tree frog went extinct. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? It's my basic reading of it. And I'm an environmentalist, so just think about people that are actually like total anthropogenic industry and dystopian hellfire and stuff. Looking at vaccines there, number one, they are generally effective. Number two, yes, occasionally you will have a spoiled vaccine that causes someone illness. Occasionally a person will die because they have some sort of weird immune reaction, like a cytokine storm or something. That's possible. But the odds of that happening are considerably lower than the odds of them getting killed or disfigured or something by the diseases those vaccines prevent. The vast majority of all Americans have been vaccinated for measles. The vast majority of those people have never gotten measles. It's effective. They suffered no complications. It did not harm them in any way. And yet now you have this weird social movement of hippie granola crunchers that says, well, I'm not putting that in my kid's body. Measles is perfectly fine and safe. Okay, let's say, though, that your kid is that 1 in 100 that dies of measles or suffers some permanent complication. I hear ringing my ears every day now. I'm miserable or something. All right, how are you going to feel thereafter? Now, they're probably going to reject the anti-vaxxer thing. You fucking hippie. Or even worse, think of it this way. Your kid's fine, they get the measles the normal way, but then they give it to some immunocompromised kid who then dies. You should be held liable for that if there's a proven connection. Absolutely, you should be able to be litigated in a civil court. You caused the death of their child. It was preventable. You did it through your own stupidity. What I would say is this. If someone wants to not vaccinate their kid, then homeschool them. No public school, no public assistance of any kind for your kid, insofar as they're not vaccinated. It is a threat to certain other children who cannot be vaccinated because of immune problems or whatever, or some disease. Maybe they're a hemophiliac. They literally can't have a needle put in their arm. They'll die. They'll bleed out if you try to do it. They've got other problems. They got sickle cell or something like that and can't do the blood thing. You get all of these different potential problems, and you're endangering these people. Herd immunity has begun to break down in some of these hippy-trippy areas and cause others to become sick. You actually have enough hosts now for an outbreak to happen. It wasn't really that way for the most part in most communities in the Western world. Measles was basically, not eradicated. There are still a few cases, but it's like the plague. We haven't eradicated the plague in North America. But through a combination of sanitization and an understanding of disease and quarantine and getting people prompt treatment, there are like a couple cases a year or something of it. Mostly relegated, I believe, to Nevada, if I remember correctly. There's some mountains out there with some mice or fucking rodents that get the plague once in a while. It becomes a problem. I think a couple people at Yellowstone get the plague once, if I remember correctly. I could be thinking of the wrong park. A couple people died of it, I think. They had a plague outbreak in China, and they cordoned off the whole town with tanks and threatened to kill anyone who tried to leave while the hazmat suits went in. Very effective, although maybe slightly dystopian. No, vaccines are safe. If I had a kid, I'd get him vaccinated. The only thing I probably would hold back on is the flu. And that's just, it's not because, well, they're going to get autism if they have too many flu vaccines. Oh my God. No, it's more like, hey, if they give the wrong vaccine out, because producing the flu vaccine in large enough quantities is difficult, it'll only be like 10% effective, and the kid's probably not going to die of influenza. It's not a particular problem, and it's going to go pandemic anyway. Like, so few people get vaccinated, it's already a pandemic every single year. So if someone's got an immune problem and the flu's around, my kid not being vaccinated, maybe getting the flu, is not adding that much to the mix, and if they get vaccinated, even if it's effective, it's not removing that much from it either. That's what I would say. But for something like measles, rubella, the mumps, all of these things, yes, get your fucking kids vaccinated. And I've got these people throwing all sorts of stupidity at me. Well, it causes autism. No, it doesn't. No vaccines don't cause autism, you fucking moron. No, the reason why the autism rate looks like it's rising is because they developed the idea of the autism spectrum. It used to be autistic meant you're autistic. Now it means autism is you don't like to make eye contact. Or you're kind of socially awkward. You're kind of avoidant. You have pronoun problems. Now, a million different things can get you listed as autistic. They overdiagnose it. They did this with ADHD. Half the ADHD kids never needed Ritalin. They dosed me up on Ritalin. Do I look like I have a fucking problem? I manage my time just fine, trust me. Not an issue. But basically, his parents said, well, little Jimmy can't sit still. Well, yeah, little Jimmy's 4 fucking years old. What do 4-year-olds do? They run everywhere. They don't want to shut up. They're going to ask questions constantly. They're going to disrupt things. They're going to test limits. It's not ADHD, that's being a kid. You tried to beat it out of me, and it didn't quite work. I was never beaten, like, you know. You get the idea. As far as autism, it's the same thing. Then these people are like, well, I take vinegar shots every day. Vaccines cause autism. And then they're like, well, it's not 100% effective. Well, yeah, not in all cases. Certain vaccines are like 99% effective or something. The only one I'll give you that on, again, is flu, where it's like if you get the wrong vaccine in the wrong year, it's like it doesn't even do anything. Yeah, it's excessive. Yeah, it's totally moronic. You might as well just say, well, just get plenty of fluids and rest. Have some chicken soup. Give your kid, your kid's got a sore throat, give him a bowl of ice cream or something. Use the Chloraseptic or something. Give him an ibuprofen for the fever if you need to, children's Tylenol or whatever. They're not going to die of the flu. They'll probably be fine. On that one, I'll give that one to you. Then somebody brought up the Amish. Well, the Amish don't get vaccinated. I'm like, yeah, the Amish also don't mill about in public places mixing with other people on a regular basis. They have their own communities. Most of their time is spent thereupon. If their kid is, and one of them is like, well, I see the Amish in Walmart. I'm like, yeah, okay, they're selling cookies. Do you think that their kid who's currently sick isn't in bed having their Amish recipe fucking folk medicine at the time? No, they're probably like, putting leeches on the kid. That kid's busy being treated the Amish way. They're not going out into society when they're sick. Don't assume that the Amish believe in child slavery. child working 9 to 5, yes, but not slavery in that manner. By the way, apparently, in many Amish communities, especially the male children, they're forced to leave the community and go out into society for several years, like go to college, get a job, or whatever, just to see the outside world, and then they have to choose whether to be Amish or not. Most of them choose to return to the Amish place. Like, most of them, they're like, oh, fuck the outside world, it's filled with crazy people. All I want to do is raise barns and stuff. I don't blame them. There's something to be said for that pastoral kind of living, although I like the internet too much to be Amish. And I'm not a Christian. And I'm, like, blasphemous, so might be a little bit. I would be the one that's possessed. I would be the village demoniac, I guess. Oh, yeah, we had to ostracize him again. He was fucking throwing things at the cows and saying Satan, and it'd be so funny. Man, I wish I could troll people more in real life, without getting fucking deplatformed by busybodies. But, so yeah, the Amish, and then you've got to understand the Amish don't use the public school system. The other part is really governmental. It's like, hey, we're going to put your kid at risk by having unvaccinated children in the school. We can show that vaccines will prevent this disease, but this family's stubborn. So, little Jimmy, who has to be in a bubble half the time, he's going to get measles and die, and it's okay. Like, we're going to allow that to happen. No, they shouldn't be using the public school system. Homeschool your kids if you want to be an anti-vaxxer. You believe crazy shit anyway, so you probably believe that your kid's going to be indoctrinated in school anyway. Keep them home. Keep them home. Give them a Bible study lesson or something for all it's worth. By the way, I don't have a problem with the Bible being taught in school. It's who cares? At least they're reading. At least the kid's reading something. A lot of kids these days, the only time they read is when they open their fucking smartphone up, so it's a little bit of a problem too. No, I'm pro-vaccine. Vaccines defeated smallpox, and if it weren't for anti-vaxxers and the occasional outbreak of war or revolution or something, we can get rid of polio. There's only a couple reservoirs left. Carter's getting rid of that one parasitic worm where it's only native now to one country in Africa. They've eradicated it across the whole continent pretty much, except for like one little area. Jimmy Carter, I swear to God, he's immortal until that's finally culminated. He's going to live until the moment that disease is eradicated, and then he's going to die. Like he's like, no, you give me, I don't care what medicines you have to give me those CIA super chemicals that we developed back in the 70s when I was president. You fucking shoot me with that shit every day because I refuse to die until Jimmy Carter eradicates parasite in Africa. It's like his sole reason for living at this point. The dude hasn't he fucking survived cancer several times? What is he, 95 years old? I mean, Jesus, he's surviving, he survived Herbert Walker, he survived Ronald Reagan, probably survived Bill, considering Bill Clinton is, it doesn't look too good. He's going through a hamburger withdrawals every day. Hillary won't let him eat junk food, so he's sort of withered away. It almost looks like he has, some people say, well, he's got syphilis. Maybe, it's possible tertiary syphilis. Maybe he's got AIDS. I mean, he did boff everything that moved back in the 90s. A little bit of a problem there. I mean, it's not really funny to talk about disease that way, but, it's funny to talk about Clinton that way. Now, Jimmy Carter's on the cusp of that. We should give him more help. Yes, we should double... The government should double whatever it's giving to Carter to get that accomplished, because it's getting real-world results. It's easily going to be eradicated. What is it called? A guinea worm or some stupid shit like that. And what about leprosy? We've managed to eliminate most of the reservoirs of leprosy in the world. It's not non-existent in the West. I think armadillos occasionally have leprosy, and occasionally you have like 1 or 2 cases a year, but then we can just treat it topically very easily. It's basically only a problem in certain remote locations in India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, that general region. Just like polio, other than Syria, really, a few places in Africa and South Asia, we've pretty much gotten rid of it. We can eliminate it. We can get rid of these diseases. But if you have an anti-vaxxer movement in an area where you still got a few reservoirs of polio, all of a sudden you start seeing little Jimmy Cratchit, with his crutches and shit. What is Tiny Tim or something? It's terrible. So yeah, I would say that vaccines are generally a good thing. I support their use, with the exception of flu that's over the top. You're not going to be able to eradicate it anyway with our current technology. It mutates too fast and is too widespread. Too many host reservoirs. Isn't it a reservoir in like chicken farming and shit like that too anyway? And then there's swine flu, avian flu, fucking every form of flu. No, start with the diseases that are less prevalent. We should have a worldwide rabies bait drop. They do that here in northern... I know this is running long a little bit, but it's an interesting subject. Here in Vermont, and I think in northern New York now, they drop bait every single spring that's laced with the rabies vaccine. The hope is to cut down the number of rabies cases in wild animals. It works. The number of cases here, as opposed to some parts of the South, is considerably lower, despite the fact that we have a lot of mammalian life. Sometimes it's actually funny because they warn people, well, if you find one of these in the woods, it's basically a vaccine bait. Don't worry if your dog eats it or something, it's not going to hurt him, it makes him resistant to rabies. We should double the amount that we drop, and we should scatter it across the whole fucking continent and do what the UK did and eliminate rabies. I know bats are a reservoir, you can potentially eliminate that too. The bat colonies die off these days with that, white fungus that they get all over their faces. They're dying off so fast there won't be a host reservoir in bats anymore because they'll all be dead. So that's rather sad because bats are cute, squeaky little things. That's about all. Peace out.